Hello everybody, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Season 15 Story 3. Now, at the end of my last review, I said this had been, at that time, was my current favourite of Season 15. But then I watched the story, and then I edited that review, and then at the end I would have put, spoiler warning, it is no longer my favourite of Season 15. And yeah, here I'm confirming it now. It is not my favourite of Season 15. In fact, it's gone way down. I mean, it's not my current least favourite. I don't think I would put it second least favourite yet. But I think it's about third least favourite at the moment. By the time we get to the ranking, it could go down, could go up. But at the moment, it's currently my fourth place, which is a significant step down. And I thought the positioning of Planet of the Daleks dropped significantly low. Except that time, I still thought that was a good story. This one, on the other hand, well, I really liked it the first time I watched it, but when I rewatched it for this review, I was absolutely bored and couldn't follow the damn story. What was going on? I didn't understand what's going on. It's so dull and uninteresting that you lose the plot and the point. Nothing happens. That's the thing. This story is done. All of a sudden, this story became pointless. Chris Boucher on his third script and the final TV one, he's done a Louis Marks where the magic has gone. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of Face of Evil until I rewatched it. Well, I wasn't the biggest fan after rewatching it, but I liked it more, apart from the bits that I still really hated above all others that season. But I thought I liked it more on the rewatch. And Ropes of Death, whilst I didn't like it as previously, I still thought it was a very good story and easily his best of the three. This time, after rewatching this story, I thought this one had been better, but now after rewatching this, Ropes of Death is now better, which I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to hear. This one I used to really like, but I don't, again, like I said, it just, when rewatching it, I just couldn't get into it. What was the point? It just doesn't work anymore. I don't know what it was. The plot sees these scientists find this 12,000-year-old skull, which is impossible. It's later revealed that human beings may have been descended from aliens, and this race in particular, the Fendhal, and there's this scientist who's actually part of a cult who wants to resurrect them, and another scientist is the key to that, or had been passed down. He gets killed by this other scientist in part 3, so pretty brutally. He gets shot in the head, and you get to see some of the blood come down. It's pretty brutal. Said scientist cult leader also commits suicide in part 4, so he's not taken over by the Fendhal. You don't see it happen, but you hear the shot, and the Doctor looks round. The Doctor even had help him get the gun for him to do it. He just let him do it. I mean, the guy deserved it, but wow. I think this must be the first story where someone commits suicide, even if it's off screen. Sort of. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that bit. But this story just doesn't quite work. I mean, the fourth episode I actually quite like. I think the threat it works there. That suicide bit was dark, but made a lot of sense, and it actually was a pretty good bit. And heck, it made the villain realise he was such a prick. And all the Fendhal were actually, they look silly, but for the budget, they look decent. And it's a nice imaginative design. I don't think we see them until part 3 at all. Maybe towards the end of part 2, which is a bit of a shame, especially considering at the end of part 1, start of part 2, there's supposed to be this creature the Doctor sees in the woods, and we don't actually see what he sees. That would have been a good cliffhanger, seeing the monster for the first time, but we don't actually see it until about part 3, I think. It's not even the part 2 cliffhanger. In fact, parts 1 and 2 have pretty weak cliffhangers. Part 3 has a decent one, I think. It's just not working. Tom Baker and Elizabeth... sorry, not Elizabeth Stone. Sorry, I'm back in season 13, 14 mode. Tom Baker and Louise Jameson are not quite at their best this time round. They're good, but I think we've had a bit of a drop in the performance-wise that may recover later on, but I'm not sure. John Leeson doesn't voice K9. K9's in this, but John Leeson's not in it. So unlike Powell Cole, he doesn't get another role to make up for that. Or even get to make some noise, some sick K9 sounds like David Beardley did for City of Death. Not City of Death, for Destiny of the Daleks. K9 is in it, but very briefly. So he's just the Doctor's fiddling around with his him in the first episode, and then at the last episode, as he's there. Basically, he'll be a bit more of a presence, and have more of a role to do in future stories, starting with the next one. So, starting from the next story, K9 will have more to do in the show. Outside of his first appearance, it's probably because of the recording of this story was probably just after they thought, let's have him on board as a constant companion, similar to how they did with Jamie. So this story just had to quickly write a quick scene or two in with 2 scenes with him in, and that's why he's not in the rest of it. Explain that, and then the story afterwards, that's he gets a bit more of a larger role in that story. The scientists are okay, but they're not particularly that interesting. They're likable, but not particularly interesting. There's also an older lady and her grandson who are pretty good. To be honest, during part 3, I was actually more invested in their story. I was actually wondering why haven't Big Finish done a spin-off on these 2 characters. Of course, they're not really Jago and Lightfoot or Paternoster Road Gangs or Benny Summerfield standards, so my question's been answered. So yeah, they're not as good as those other characters or some of the other ones they've done for spin-offs. That being said, they've done a Christina D'Souza spin-off, so then again, perhaps they could do this Tyler and her grandson spin-off. It can be set in the same time period, so they don't have to worry about that. The 4th Doctor can come and visit them a few times. It's possible. Okay, that's a new idea for Big Finish to do. Okay, I'm not being completely serious over here, but it's not out of the question. But to be honest, I was more invested in their story than anybody else's during part 3, because they were just the more interesting characters to watch at the time. And they had some good involvement throughout the story. I mean, not amazing characters, but they were the ones I got invested with the most throughout the 3rd episode. And still liked them quite a bit in the 4th. There's just this story, I just didn't have any interest in it. Which is a shame, because I used to like it a lot. But now, I just don't care anymore about it anymore. I think it's just boring. It's boring. That's what it is. It's boring, dull, slow. The last episode is good, but that's as far as I will say with the positives and maybe some of the characters. It's just boring. Boring. I mean, you might like it, but maybe on a rewatch later on down the line, you might change your mind. Similarly, you might dislike it, but later on down the line, you might like it again on a rewatch. That might be a Universal's video I have to do about rewatches. Yes, that's a good idea, Nick. Do a video on how rewatches may change your opinion. Yes. Sorry, I just blanked out for a moment. Well, not blanked out. I thought about something else for a moment intentionally. But yeah, Image of the Fendhal. It's just not worth it. Not really. When I was getting the DVDs, seasons 15 and 17, or at least for the Tom Baker stories, were some of the most of them were some of the later stuff I got. So I think this was one of the later ones. Not as late as Underworld, but certainly one of the later releases, as opposed to Invisible Enemy, which was one of my earliest ones. And to be honest, yeah, I can see collectors who may or may know the reputations of these stories. I mean, I wasn't that well known on this one's reputation, But those who do know the reputations, this might be one for you to get later on, if you're even intending to get the DVDs now, due to the new Blu-ray box sets coming out. So you might want to get the season 15 box set instead if you don't want to collect the DVDs. But if you do want to go for DVDs, then this is one to get at a later point, unless it's starting to go out of print or anything. Go for the ones that are starting to go out of print, or are likely to go out of print, or are harder to find, because those ones will get more difficult to find. So those will be the older releases. In this season, it's would be the Invasion of Time. Horror Fang Rock would be the earliest one. Not that early, actually. It's 2005 that one's released, so that's not terribly early. But anyway, Image of the Fendhal. I'm sorry. I just can't be positive on this one. I did say I did like some of it. Like, part 4 is pretty good. It's a pretty fun, well, not fun, but it's enjoyable in places, and it has some good moments. Some of the characters are okay, especially those two Tyler characters, and scientists are pretty good. And some of quite a bit of the acting, but the story is just so slow and so boring, and it doesn't really work. The science doesn't make sense, and neither does the sci-fi, and it just comes down to a bit of a mess. The last episode does give us this really, the scientist fear when she becomes this Fendhal priestess thing. Does give her a nice costume and makeup job and wig and possibly a mask. It looks really well, and the Fendhal, like I said, looked good for what they had at the time, and actually quite imaginative. But the rest of the story is just so bloody tedious. So you'll get a good episode at the end. You just got to sit through 3 episodes of absolute boredom to get there first. And then, even though the last episode is good, it doesn't quite make up for the 3 episodes you had to go through. So it's probably Logopolis, but a few years earlier, and without a regeneration at the end, probably. But yeah, so I'm going to give Image of the Fendhal a 5 out of 10. Good last episode, even though it's not spectacular. Train wreck of the first 3. Just so boring. But like I said, the last episode is worth the watch, even if it's not a spectacular viewing experience. It's not an experience, it's just worth sitting through the other 3. Just about. And the Doctor and Selena again just run off and leave the others behind. I get this is something the Doctor and the companions do. They just leave everybody. They don't really stick around at the moment, but they don't even go and check to see if they're all okay. They just decide to go off, which fits with the characters, but they could have sticked around to just make sure everybody was okay, and then disappeared when nobody was looking. So, yeah, that's Image of the Fendhal. I'm not a fan of it anymore, which is a shame because I used to be. I don't know how, but I was. Maybe I didn't like. Maybe I found it more enjoyable when I first watched it. And that wasn't even that long ago. It was like 2 years, maybe 3 at most. So that's a shame. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Hopefully the next story of the season will be a bit better. So, what are we looking at next time? Well, we are looking at the Sunmakers. Oh, no. No, not you. Please. Oh, fuck. Next time, the Sunmakers. Maybe a rewatch might make my opinion like it more, but that's not likely. So, if it doesn't change my opinion, or if I like it even less, then, well, maybe you should be prepared for a rant, but yay, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Season 15 is about to go downhill big time. More than it already just did after this rewatch. Like I said, maybe maybe rewatching this one, maybe I'll like it more. But again, that's not likely. We'll see. Maybe there'll be an edit in this video that will say otherwise. Or maybe it will say I'm absolutely fucking right, or my opinion has just stayed the exact same. Yep, okay, so those couple seconds would have allowed me to put that in. Okay, so if I haven't, I think I'll probably edit this after rewatching this story. I did with the last one. So, okay, next time, the Sunmakers. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Down, and I thought the Planet of the Daleks position was except that one was still good. This one, there's because season 15 and 17 were two seasons where on the DVD that just were later more seasons. Oh, come on, messages. Those are annoying as well. Next, what?